Lotus family. And if you've been keeping up with me, or if you were in my live earlier today, then you know what this is going to be, and we're going to slowly ease ourselves into it. Um, and I'll wait until I get a few people to actually view it before I go over kind of how I do these. Um, if you did not know, I can actually show you this. This is something that my partner gifted me. He made it for me for my birthday. And this is what I read cards on. As you can tell, it's bigger than my fucking face. Um, Yay, hello! But what you're seeing is all of the seasons, or all of the astrological signs, all the seasons of the wheel. We have the god, we have the goddess, and then we have north, or like the elements and the directions to them. And then we have a spell written formally in sigils or runes and a few other symbols that my partner did his entire self, and this is 100% with the golden ratio. So if you have ever booked a reading with me, know that I was using this board to do it. But hi, hello everybody, hi. So we're using these right here. These are the Flowers from the Dead Oracle, and you're also going to get to see why I say I love this fucking deck. Because that's it. Literally every card either comes with 1 to 2 words, and that's it. Hello! And yes. Believe it or not, at one point it wasn't originally for me. We were selling things out of a confinement shop that my adopted grandmother owns. And this had been sitting up there for over a year, and it just never sold. And one day we walked in there, and he's like, "Can I take this down?" And she's like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, "Well," he looked at me, and he's like, "I think this was meant for you." So yeah, that's what I've been using. Also, I'll do it in another video because I'll actually have to clean stuff off of them. He also burned a Celtic or North, no, it's technically Celtic, a Celtic tree of life into a dresser that I also use as an altar. And then we have a table that father-in-law picked up from like a thrift store. And he has the goddess, primarily the Hecate symbol, the Hecate symbol, which is basically just the moons. So it's like a giant moon, and then it's got the 2 half ones, and then it's got one up top with the pentagram in the middle of it. But yeah, that's what I use. Okay, so for these readings, I do not do yes and no questions, and I don't need to know what the exact like reading is about. In other words, I need to know the subject, but I don't. The less details I have, the better off I can actually read. Now, like I said, we're slowly going to ease into this because I've never done this before, and anybody who works with spirit knows that spirit's not always cooperate. But the reason I'm going to walk you through the reason that I've got to practice this. So with this particular deck, depending on how you read cards, some people can lay each card down, and as they're laying them down, they're like understanding it how to project that onto the situation that the question was revolving. I don't do that. I can, but to get an authentic reading, what I do is I tell people it's almost like Yahtzee, except for with puzzle pieces. So imagine getting a brand new puzzle and putting it in a cup and shaking it up and just throwing it across the board, but still trying to actually connect each image to actually get you a full story. That's what I do with these cards. So basically, I'll lay them out, and normally, as I'm laying them out, I think back on the original question, and then basically I formulate how to speak through that. Now, normally when I say the person's name, which today we'll be using screen names, normally I need like your full name. I will literally just ask, and normally within seconds of me asking that and or telling the cards who I'm reading, spirit will come through. Today's been a little weird though. Like I tried to lay down and take my nap. That way I was very rested for this. Could not fucking. I lay down, but like I did that weird sleep shit where one moment I was completely awake, and the next moment I was dreaming, and then the next moment I was completely fucking awake. Also, if you would like to try the napping thing that I do, because you don't always go to sleep, you're going to set an alarm on your phone for 45 minutes, and then you're going to set one for 35 minutes. 35 minutes is crucial, though, because if you only go to sleep for 35 minutes, it basically kind of resets your entire system, as in you will literally feel like you just got 8 hours of sleep. Versus if you go over the 35-minute level to like a full 45 minutes, closest to an hour, you're 9 times out of 10, depending on how you're waking up from that, you're going to wake up and it's either going to be like your head is still kind of in the dream world, and or you're going to feel a pressure on you, like your body is just really, really heavy. What's happening is when you take naps, uh, anything anything after 35 to 45 minutes could lead to a deep sleep cycle. If that deep sleep cycle is not actually, if it does not go through the full cycle, you're going to wake up 10 times more exhausted than you were before you laid down. So I've done the alarm to where I'll set it up that way 45 minutes. You got at least like 15 extra minutes to actually get there to that your comfortable place. And then you're going to do a blindfold. If you're comfortable with that, do a blindfold. Um, and basically you just kind of lay there. Now, the weird thing about this is I've actually learned that it works better if you lay straight on your back versus on the sides, because I'm a side sleeper. It works better if you lay flat on your back. And it's okay if you have a busy brain to where your brain is constantly going. That's okay. Just let it. It will eventually get to a point to where, depending on how your brain works and how your imagery works, to where everything will just kind of stop, and or not that it really stops as much as like everything just gets put on the back burner, and then you'll start to see visual images right here. Normally with me, when it first started, it was almost like somebody had a planchette over an old school map, like at the world map, and it was like trying to find the like right location. And then what happens, even if you do actually fall asleep, normally, though, if you do that, what you're going to go into is called a twilight sleep, and it's those sleeps where you're not really asleep, or you're not fully asleep, and you're not fully awake, or you are fully awake. So basically, you're half asleep, half awake, which means your brain, your actual brain, and your body is actually resting while you're mentally fully aware of everything that's going on around you. But if doing this multiple times, you can actually get to a point. Hello, it's going good. Have you ever worked with angels? What's the experience like? I have not. There is a spell that I will be doing very soon. I just have to make sure my life is 10 times more balanced right now before I do it. But it is a spell that calls upon Michael, or not Raphael. Yeah, Michael. And it basically, he helps bring something into your life. It's supposed to be a miracle thing, but it actually takes like 7 days, and I think it's 7 days and or 7 weeks, and you have to do this exact thing at this exact time for 7 days, or for a day in each. I have to look it up, and I'll share it when I do. It's from the creator of Bahat That Life, Jessica. I think I said her name right. Here on YouTube, and she's on other platforms too. She went to the church that they have of. My brain is not wanting to say fucking Michael, and I know it's Michael. But they went to the church they have him in St. Augustine, and they had a very, very spiritual experience with it, and it eventually led to that ritual. Um, Fuck, what was I about to say? Oh, with the dream things, though, you will get to a point to where you can actually contact your spirit guides beforehand to where they can actually meet you there. And or I have found out and realized that if you actually do fall asleep and you start dreaming, they will be some of the most vivid dreams that you will ever have, and you will be able to remember all of it. Obviously, the more you're awake, the more it starts to fade. But for that first good 10 minutes of waking up, as long as you're not like grabbing the phone or you don't have a lot of distracting things around, because when I do that episode, I will cut everything off, which I normally do not do because we have an AC unit, which already causes white noise. And then I already hear a lot of the times like a radio frequency or like almost static. So I don't like it, because if you literally, here at our house, if you cut that AC off and just listen, especially at nighttime, it, swear to God, it is like you are hearing multiple different types of conversations with people. To the point where the first time me and my partner stayed here, we slept in the back room. We never did that again because it creeped us the fuck out. Because you could literally hear like dialogue, you could hear voice differences. And then you would get up and go to see, like, walk into a room or open the door to a room where you hear it at, and we never saw anything, but what you would feel is you just interrupted a very, very important conversation that should not be had. Um, so yeah, and then today, just because I'm also trying to express this more, so our mattress is a just a regular queen mattress, but we also have like 2 different types of foam on it just to make it more comfortable. Bubbers has been in the bay window all day laying in his spot. That's what he does, right? We do not have any other cats in this house. I am the only one here. 4 to 5 times today, I have had moments where I felt the bed, the cushion, primarily the foam, move. As in, like somebody was sitting behind me and they just got up or just laid down. And it's creepy only because I don't really sense, like, I'm so used to being around spirits that unless, like, they need something or they're trying to show me something, they're just kind of here. And I know that sounds weird, and that's only here. Like, if I go to a graveyard or another haunted location or a place where there's heavy with spirits, it's not like that. Like, I'll actually have to hone in on it. But here, I'm used to having so many different types of spirits here that... But yeah, I don't know. That one's new. Now, before I get into this, I am going to shuffle these cards and break them up a little bit. I would try to do a general pull, but for anybody who owns an Oracle deck, do you know how hard it is to actually do a general pull? Because I used to do them online, and some of them come out really, really good, but it's fucking too vague for my taste, and I don't like vague. Also, important note in this, because it was a question I recently received. Do Oracle cards have a reverse meaning like tarot cards? It depends on the creator. You will find some Oracle decks where, yes, they do have like a reverse meaning to it. Or if it's upside down versus right side up, there's a specific meaning for it. A lot of the times, though, on the other scale, you won't. But yeah, that's another thing. In these right here that you want. Also, if I ever give you a reading, or if you get a reading through here, and I state that this is going to be a heavy reading, that is not a negative or a positive. That just means that there's a lot of emotion and there's a lot of energy behind this. I also hope anybody who watched my other live found the book that you were supposed to find. That was important. Okay. In the rush of setting things up, I did not get the one crucial thing that I needed. Which is also going to be, well, interesting because I'm going to set this on wood. Now, before anybody comes at me, this is not fucking white sage. This is literally kitchen sage from my local grocery store that apparently they make there at the store. So, support your local market. I wouldn't necessarily do that because this shit was not cheap. It was a big ass bottle, so like I can fully say that. Like I got what I got. But and a lot of people are gonna be like, well, you're using your cards to sage them. No, I'm not. That is not what I'm doing right now. I am cleaning, as in I am cleaning off the energy. Okay? Last thing I need is somebody to report me. Oh, he's over here smudging. No, I'm not. Not to mention the way that I use sage is just a baseline incense. There is no cleansing. No. Okay, anyways. So, does anybody have the first question? Also, remember that, hold on. I will not go over legal matters and or health matters and or fertility matters. So, and I do not do questions, should you leave your husband or should you leave your wife or should you leave your relationship that you're in? No, I can give you insights though. So if anybody has any questions, let me know and let's see what the cards have to say. And I'm not going to put a limitation on the cards because normally I pick anywhere from 6 to 12, depending on when Spirit tells me to stop. And see, eventually when I do this, I'm going to somehow set it up to where you can actually see the deck and my hands versus just me. And there are multiple different techniques to set up cards. The technique that I'm about to do now, I think this term is called washing. Okay, what's your question? Wait, let me wash them really quick. Washing is basically where you shuffle them out individually and lay them out and then just kind of mishmash them together. It's just kind of mixing everything up. But yes, what is your question? Kelsey. I hope I said your name right too. And then I plan on doing a video soon on how to use sticks for bones if you can't, and for, you know, someone or something reaching out to me, deities, ancestors, or spirit guides. Thank you so much for also like adding the 3 like things that you're primarily talking about. And believe it or not, I get this question a lot. So let us see. Now with these, when it comes to the gods and goddesses, unless I myself have a name that pops up, a lot of the times it's through animery or the animals or the depictions on here. So you may have a little bit of research, but I've actually only done this specifically with deities twice, but it was successful. Okay, let me review that again. Okay. Kelsey. Alright, cards. Kelsey would like to know if something is reaching out to them. Deities, spirit guides, ancestors, what have you. Now is your time to step up and communicate. There's definitely something there. It's having a hard time coming through, though. I want to say it's... And I don't normally do this because this technically considers as fishing and I'm not trying to fish. It's crone energy. The ancestor that's coming through. It's like crone. It's very like a grandmother or a great aunt who's trying to come through. I have a feeling, though, they're going to come through the cards. Sorry. Spirit guide. Oh, yep. They're coming through. This entire side of my body right now just fucking goosebumped. Alright. Kind of feisty energy. Like, I give no shits what anybody thinks of me. I'm going to shine my light, like, to the brightest. Does not beat around the bush. Is very blunt, but lovingly blunt. I don't want to say a cardinal, but it's blue. There's no such thing as a blue cardinal. Well, that confused me. Alright, anyways, let's see. Alright. Like I said, I'm going to lay all the cards out, and then I'll show you each individual card. I'm assuming this is going to be a spirit guide because of the very first card. You also got a little ancestor mixed in this, too. Alright, first card, one of the reasons I say it's the, are there any spirits looking up? Sorry, I have to step away for a second. Okay. Alright, the first card that I drew for you was the Dragonfly. It represents joy and love, but specifically with this one, it represents spiritual side. Also, pay attention to your dreams. Now, I normally do tell people that when that card comes up, but definitely pay attention to your dreams. Then we have travel and stamina and spontaneous. Now, I did not see this as a physical traveling, like you're about to take a trip, as much as spiritually, shit's about to pop off in a good way. Chaotic, but good. Because we have travel, stamina, and then we also have spontaneousness, which is going to be like a fucking rabbit jumping all over the place. And then we have cunning and resourceful. And I love that card. But cunning and yes, I know people, it's chaotic. Can't do anything about it. Cunning and resourceful, though, also means that you're extremely cunning, and you may even possess some of what some people would consider the cunning as a power. Basically, kind of claircognizance, psychic abilities. We have bold and courageous. There are going to be certain events that are coming up. You're going to have to like kind of stick your head out there, but it's going to pay off at the long run. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone, but stepping out of that comfort zone, almost making that like a sacrifice, is going to progress you very, very far. We also have curiosity and exploration. You're in this area where you're trying to kind of figure things out. With that, this is also where your spirit guides are going to come in at. Now, when I say spirit guides is plural, but this particular one is kind of a newer one because it's going to be coming through when you start this new, I'm not going to say a spiritual awakening, but this new journey in your spiritual journey. You're going to have a specific spirit that shows up who will be, not that I'm trying to gender spirits, very feminine energy, but kind of like feminine warrior mixed with Loki energy. And then we have abundance and earth. Now, when abundance and earth comes up, In a mundane route, you sticking your head out, you stepping out of your comfort zone could be some type of new like financial thing. But specifically with this right here, you're gonna run into a couple of moments where you're kind of, no offense when I say this, stubborn like a bull, kind of hard headed. And it's going to take some time for a couple of lessons, not really lessons as in good or bad, but things that you'll be going through. They're going to be trying to tell you, hey, no, you should do it this way, and you're going to do it your way, which is is what we do in the spiritual journeys. We are allowed to fuck up and be like, oh shit, no, you're right, I should have done that. That's kind of what's going to play out. But that specific, so the chicken, the raccoon, and the buffalo is going to lead you to a newer or a place that is going to bring you peace and tranquility. Also, pay attention to turtles, specifically older turtles. Don't know what that means. Now, here are the kind of, these are specifically highlighted for you to not to forget. The shark. Too much solitude can cause anxiety. Also, some of that anxiety may be because spirit and spirit guides are trying to reach out to you, and your body has not fully formed a way of actually having to transfer that to where you can or translate that. It causes anxiety. When spirit is near, they're not meaning to, they're not purposely giving you anxiety, but how their energy versus our bodies interact with it, it causes anxiety. But the next time you have like social anxiety, try to remember that feeling, because you'll eventually get to the point where I kind of call it spirit anxiety, but you can get to the point to where you can be able to decipher whether it's like mundane anxiety or if it is spirit anxiety, aka spirit causing anxiety because it's trying to tell you something. And then we have flamingo, romance and love. Specifically, they're going to be letting you work and helping you work on self-love and self-acceptance and self-forgiveness. Not shadow work, but through some of the mundane things that will be going on, you're kind of going to grow, but it's almost like you're growing, almost in a weird way, this may sound weird, falling in love with yourself, but in the way that we are supposed to, is we're supposed to love ourselves, reflect ourselves. And then, the most important one, because sometimes you can be a little impatient, patience and harmony. Good things come when you wait. Everything is flowing at the exact time and flow and speed that it's supposed to. I know it's annoying. Just let that slowly flow in. And just kind of always remember that if you do start to get a little like you're feeling rushed, just remember slow and steady wins the race. And yeah, that's, I know it's not an actual named deity, it's not a named ancestor, but that's what they wanted me to tell you. Also, pay attention to your dreams and or something to do with perfume. Somebody that you know at some point in time that has no longer with us had some type of scent connected with them that you will probably be smelling that scent within the next 3 days. Um, okay. Are there any spirits looking out for me? Okay, Scarlett, can you reword? I gotta reword your answer because that would be like a yes and no answer, and I don't really do yes or no questions because these cards are tricky to do, like just a no or a yes. What I can say though, from just kind of focusing on that question, yes, you have at least 4 to 5 spirits that are watching over you. And what's weird is one of them gives me the energy of like a childhood friend or like somebody you used to know but was no longer here. And then the other 3 are spirit guides. Other 2 are spirit guides, and the other one, you'll find that out in your own practice or in your own speed. There we go. I got the cunning the last time I pulled for me. I think the rest are new. I didn't expect the name. Something is telling me my grandmother, but I'm not sure. Blue is one of her favorite colors. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. That's why it messed with me because like I pictured and heard the word cardinal, but it was like, no, blue, but it's not a blue jay. So, but yeah, definitely just follow those. And even in your own things, you can ask, depending on, because I'm pretty sure you use some type of card since you said pull for me. Pulling them again and specifically asking your spirit guides and ancestors to step forward. Because there's a misconception, not from you, but a lot of other people, due to the way that it's talked about online. Some people put it off as like you have to have a spiritual gift in order to actually hear and like communicate with your spirit guides, but you really don't. One of the first times I fully interacted with them purposely, I asked them to join me in a dream, and I have cards in my feet every day. That would be your ancestor. That would be your grandmother watching out for you. 100% to that. Um, but one of the first times I did my Twilight meditation, I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to try this. It's either going to work or not work. I asked my spirit guides to meet up with me, and now we have a diner that at any point in time I fall asleep and I'm at that diner. I'm sitting across, literally in a booth with my spirit guides, and we're talking. And it's a very, very weird dynamic because how they display themselves to me without going into way too much detailing, there is one who is like older than time itself. Not literally, but you understand what I mean. But is stuck in a weird body. And then I don't know, it's weird. It's probably my brain and how it interpreted it, but it like I was in some weird comic because you had like this older guy who's like chain smoking, but not really chain smoking. He just had that look to him. It was weird. But yeah. Okay. So does anybody else have any questions? Again, no yes or no questions. Nothing about legal stuff. Nothing about not finances. Pregnancy or fertility. Um, but yeah, and like I said, with the ancestors and stuff, I can sometimes get names, but it all depends on how they come through. Most of the time, though, it's like a message, or it's messages or something that you need to hear. But yes, you do have your grandmother's energy is around you. She's no longer here, like where I'm at, but there was something that was definitely trying to get through because when spirit does come through, it's either one side or the other side of my body, and that just one side of that arm will just get cold chills, and that's what happened. It's very weird because I'm picking up on energy and I don't know how to decipher the energy that I'm picking up on right now. See, this is something I've never done either. I've never actually just tried channeling. What are my dreams telling me to protect myself from? Okay, I will definitely try that one. And it is Lady Lilith. Say there are spirits, guides. Hold that thought. What are Lady Lilith's dreams telling her to protect herself? Well, that's something I normally don't do. We had one card fall out, but for some reason I ain't putting it away, so. The funny thing is I don't have to shuffle these anymore. I know what this says. Come on. Am I going to get the card that I think I'm going to get? Alright. So, the card that fell out, and this is actually fucking... I'm going to have a different saying for what I'm about to say and what this card represents. And if you've been following me for a while, you already know what I'm about to say. We have the rat. Purge and simplify. We're going to screw that. Purge and simplify. Not really, because you're about to be doing this purging. We're going to focus on the rat. Because right after the rat, we have a message for you, strength and confidence, and the bear. In other words, you have a shit ton of strength. You have a shit ton of confidence. You may not always see that, but you have it. And in this situation, you're going to dig deep. You're going to pull that shit to the surface. And then we have the armadillo, which, what do? They literally roll up into a ball. Protection and boundaries. And then we have patience and harmony. So you're kind of going to have to set a rat trap. I hope you're keeping up with where I'm going with this. And this is the reason, anger and spite. And a scorpion. Now, if this was specifically for you, when the scorpion comes up, I always tell people, you know, if you're holding shit in, it's like the scorpion stinging itself. No, this is the opposite. You have somebody in your also truth and clarity, that's going to come up too. You basically have a rat, and or what I like to call, you have a snake in your garden. And not the fact that like they're doing shit behind your back necessarily, but this person really is like slinging you the evil eye, as in they're jealous of you. There are so many negative emotions behind them. It's almost envious of you. I don't know where it is in your circle. We'll say circle of friends, whether it's online, physical, wherever. But you're gonna kind of set a rat trap. Now, the first one, which is where truth and clarity comes in at, you can do a truth spell. Or you could basically set something up, because I have a feeling something's telling me you may know who I'm talking about, and you kind of had that suspicion, but you hadn't fully. That's what they're telling you. You have somebody directly close to you, or somebody that you are close with in some way, shape, or form, that they're not for you. As in, they do not want you to succeed. The evil eye, basically. They're jealous of you. And I would definitely keep an eye out on them. And the reason I said to set like a rat trap is because patience and harmony, specifically patience. Um, so like it's going to take time for you to realize who this person is, but if you do it just right, you're not going to have to go on like a witch hunt as much as that person in itself will reveal itself, possibly in your dreams, due to the fact that they're connecting to you in your dreams. Your like ancestors and guides are telling you that you need protection. That's what it is. You basically, a rat is in your friend group, or my favorite saying, there's a snake in your garden. I hope that resonated though. Okay, so Scarlet, since you say there are 3 guides, what are the energies of the first 3 like? One of them won't let me anywhere near them and or read them at all. It's just like a silhouette. The other 2, one's very masculine. When I mean masculine, I do not mean like identify as gender male, but very, very masculine and very wise. And the other one is kind of ditzy. Ditzy, kind of got head in the clouds, but can be very, very, this is going to sound weird, goal oriented. Basically, it kind of like keeps you focused on specific things, but in a weird way that I've never, which I haven't really tried connecting with other spirits or sensing them. The one that won't let me read them, it's almost like they all have flip sides too, almost like a tarot deck would, not like a negative aspect, but almost like a shadow aspect that it will also help you and or protect you. That's at least what I'm picking up on, although the silhouette does not like me and or does not like me trying to figure it out, because they're basically telling me that most of the questions that you have can be answered if you ask. I almost said ask right, but it's not that. There's something inside of you that for some reason it's holding you back from fully like taking that leap and just believing that your spirit guides are there. And I may have worded that wrong, but it's like you still, there's something holding you back that you have to let go of and kind of take that leap of faith. And that's when they're kind of gonna be like, boo, hi. Um, that's all they're letting me get. It's very weird though. And again, take everything I'm saying right now with a grain of salt, only due to the fact that you can basically consider this practicing for me. Not that I ever doubt myself, but thank you so much. It definitely resonates with me, and that advice is great. I do have an idea of who it is, but I'm pretty sure I cut them out. I'll set a trap to see if I was right. Thanks again. Of course, and thank you for like helping me as well, because this is actually fun. I didn't know that. See, my own fear, I am my own worst enemy. And what I mean by that was I was so afraid that like I wasn't going to be able to do this, that my own fear held me back from processing and advancing. And I think a lot of people need to hear that. Fear is a good thing, but sometimes fear can fully hold us back from progressing or being or to getting somewhere that we fully need to be. Um, so yeah, that's weird. It's very weird. Now, I will state, whoever. Okay, this is going to be random. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, then it's not meant for you. I guess it's meant for whoever else sees this. Loki, Hecate, Venus, and Jupiter will be reaching out. Specifically, the last 2. They're going to be reaching out to multiple people. Um, the one that Hakate will be reaching, or the people, whoever Hakate reaches out to, start watching out for black dogs that are not supposed to be in the area. In other words, they look like they just do not belong. Okay. You may have, I don't want to use the term frightening or scary. You may have intense dreams of like the aesthetic of like darkness and being in the woods. There's a reason. You need to find the light. Basically, it's going to be a torch. All these is associated with Hakate. So you're kind of going to be going through a journey, if you will, through the dark forest to retrieve the torch. Um, Loki, you're going to have a very chaotic week, but it's going to be like shenanigans and pranks in a very weird way, and it may even bring two people together. With the other two, you'll know when they reach out. You'll just know. And the only reason I said that is because when I said the last two, yes, the AC is on right now, but obviously due to this, I'm not really feeling it around my body. And around these two fingers, when I said Venus and Jupiter, like, it got really, really fucking cold, but really, really, like, the air was static almost. So, yeah, again, I don't know who that's to, but that's for y'all. And you will know. Like I said, when you experience these experiences, you are going to know, because when these entities, or when these deities and these energies enter your life, they're not coming in like this quiet little Uber. Oh fuck no. They're bringing out the fireworks, the fucking parade, the whole shebang. In other words, when they present themselves, you will know in every aspect. But don't let the fear of the unknown and or the fear of failing hold you back, because you're also going to be healing through these lessons, but not like shadow work. You're going to be healed in other ways, and they're going to help you build confidence in a lot of the areas that you lack. So again, take that if it resonates, and to anybody else who rewatches this, take that as it resonates, okay? I'm just saying what's coming through my mind. So, and I'm still getting used to, let me rephrase that. I'm building confidence and getting used to building confidence in what's flowing out of my mouth. Because besides being able to talk to gods and goddesses, um, I have claircognizance, which means I have clear knowing. So I've spent a lot of time being able to decipher what's my own random thoughts versus what spirit has to say. Also, at any point in time during this, if I say spirit, I don't mean ghost or ancestors. I use spirit as a like full-on term for everything that's not a human meat suit. Um, and over here, we do not use the term demons. And if we do, actually, somebody contacted me, and I love the way they put this. They're like Catholic demons. Like, they specifically, like, actually let me know what type of demon they were talking about. Because there are a lot of practitioners that work with the Fernals. Some of you will also be, start looking up Fernals. If you don't know what that is, deep dive into Fernals. And if you're uncomfortable with working with them, you can, like, let them know, and they're not gonna, like, bash you or anything. But Lucifer, or shall I say, I'm sorry, Morningstar, Beelzebub, I have the other one on the tip of my tongue, and it's the King. King's Asmodeus. 3 of those will be reaching out to y'all. I don't know when. I do know it will be before fall initially starts, due to the fact that these will be the energies, including the gods that I talked about earlier. These will be say a 6-month, like a moon cycle, how we have a moon cycle. This is going to be your next cycle. So working with these energies, they're specifically going to highlight and help fix specific things. So research that. That's all I can say to that. And you, like I said, you will know. Also, when it comes to Morningstar and Asmodeus, King Asmodeus, you may have very, very exciting dreams. I'm trying to word this as like PG as I can. It shouldn't be really PG, because if you're under the age of 18, you should not be watching me or following my account. But yeah, and be prepared for Samhain. Also, Samhain can be up to like a 2 to 3 week celebration, not just like on All Hallows Eve, or as we know it here in America, Halloween. Um, but does anybody have any questions or anything like that? Oh shit, yes, there are. I just did not read them. I'm not ready to start reading for people I'm not familiar with. Oh, okay. I'm always in the woods, but I'm always helping children escape. Oh, okay. The night we had a full moon, I had a dream. I was walking with Hecate in the woods with a full moon. We didn't talk, just walked in comfortable silence. Oh, I love that. Also, the synchronicity to it. But yeah, and also, now I do want to say this with Hecate because this is a misconception. Now, before I say it's a misconception, it does not mean you have to stop using it. But it is an actually newer age thing. With Hecate, Hecate was not originally historically associated with the Mother, Maiden, and Crone. Um, I don't even know if Morgan was. I think the Morgan was. I'm not for sure on that one. But Hecate was not. But now, obviously, they're very, very heavily associated with it. And, contrary to what people say online, why didn't I draw a card out for you in the Halloween Oracle? Okay, I'm down. I also love that deck. That's actually one of my very first Halloween decks. Well, no, my first Halloween deck was... No, my first Oracle deck was gifted to me by my friend Wolf. And I've never been able to find it. I think it's Heart of Wisdom, but it's like this female in front of the box, and she's like making a heart in her hands. And then the Halloween Oracle was technically the second Oracle deck that I got. And that was the deck that actually made me realize how well I can read Oracles. Because with that deck, due to the fact that it goes over like the history of Halloween, or other things associated with it, I would always carry the book around with me. And then all of a sudden, the bitch just disappeared, literally popped out of into existence. And I was upset because I couldn't find another one. And my partner was like, well, why don't you just try giving me a reading? He's like, it's not going to hurt anything. I'm glad he said that because that's what it was trying to teach me. It was trying to teach me that it was trying to teach me something that was told to me time and time again after that I still haven't clicked in my head yet, but this is helping with. I don't need cards to be able to read people. I use cards because it's a security blanket for me. Um, but that's also a very, very heavy thing to do. Mine was which is way confusing since it's been 2 years of Celtic and Norse pantheons. Oh, I love it. They do that sometimes. And I mean, I know some people are not comfortable with like working with multiple pantheons right now. Right now online, there's this huge talk over Greek and Roman gods and goddesses. And I never, like I said, I never deep dived into the history because I was never drawn to the Greeks or the Romans. So I never realized that the way that their gods are with the planets and then the actual aspects of the gods and goddesses. So it's very, very interesting to watch. But I was also always told that, like, you're only supposed to work with one pantheon and you're not supposed to mix pantheons. No. They will let you know if you like them or not. There's so much crossovers in my life. She just caught me off guard. Oh, I love that. I love that when it happens, too, because... And the reason I say that is because I think the reason that happens is because it almost takes that moment, because that moment where we feel off guard is the moment where, due to the fact that, like you said, there's so much stuff going on, that it kind of just paused everything, and you actually got to observe everything. Trust me, I've had multiple moments like that, where one of the main goddesses that I do work with a lot, Freya, I had no idea hawks were associated with her. Hawks are my... I'm not going to say spirit animal or anything like that, but I am very, very spiritually associated with hawks. And I had no idea that Freya was associated with them. Your card is the Night Song, Hidden Talents. It looks like a red bird. Oh, I love that song. I love that card. And thank you, which is also ironic considering what I'm doing right now. So, I love it. In one of these lives, I'll test the past life deck. But when I tell you I have never seen a fucking deck as complex and complicated as that deck, holy shit. I've never seen it. Actually, no, I have. The Conjure cards. The only reason, though, the Conjure cards are slightly advanced, depending on how you read cards, is being able to read the description of the card and then kind of project that onto how the situation is that you're trying to read. Oh, yes, yes, yes. You have a hawk sphere because mine recognizes it. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, I love that. And then next year, because like I've told y'all before, I kind of stopped. I made the mental health decision to stop my shadow work because it was not helping me, or it may have been helping me, but it was causing more issues than actually was helping. So I felt defeated. And if y'all have not known by now, I am very fucking stubborn, and I cannot walk away. I don't like walking away from things unless it's finished. Um, and I'll do it and do it until it's perfect in my eyes. So next year, but I'm thinking actually I'm going to start this on Samhain due to the fact that some witches see that as the new year. I am going to be fuck shadow work. Nope, yep, fuck it. Throwing it out the window. I don't even know what this I don't even know what I'm going to call this. But I'm going to literally be spending the entire year from this October until next October um, doing everything that I can to actually get my self love for my own self and my like confidence and all of that up. Basically, in a layman's terms, I'm trying to get to the point where I just give no fucks what anybody thinks except for me, um, and that's going to be really hard. But I think it's also going to help me progress in my spiritual journey. Um, because when it comes to, and the reason I kind of brought this up is because when I read people, that's some of the number one things this card always likes to remind people, or this deck does, is that like self-love and self-acceptance will get you further in your spiritual journey because it's one of the hardest fucking things to do. Fuck shadow work. Reliving pain, okay, great. But actually coming to terms with like forgiving yourself, accepting yourself fully, and like learning to love yourself, it's some of the hardest shit I've ever done. And I'm still not completed with it. The first deck to call to me was the Black Tarot. So I bought it, and the Wild Unknown. Oh, I love it. The Wild Unknown called to me. I finally got it because the decks that I have, Oracle and Tarot, I have Flowers from the Dead, the Halloween Oracle. I have the Medicine Wheel Oracle. That's a very deep fucking card, deep deck. And then I have the Past Life deck. I have the Wild Unknown Tarot. I have the Green Witch Tarot. And then I have the Animal Oracle, which is by the same author as the Wild Unknown. Holy shit, I just realized how many decks I had. Holy shit. But I still don't really vibe. One of the main reasons I hate being able to have the ability, knock on wood, I don't just jinx myself. I love reading other people, but I cannot read myself to save my fucking life. With any deck, no matter if it's tarot, oracle, cannot do it. Nothing comes out right. But for anybody else, it's like singing like a fucking canary. Um, but I do want to start trying to get back into tarot. Because I do like that with tarot, if I were to read myself, it wouldn't necessarily be me as much as I can also go on what the cards are versus these. Also, these are, though, an amazing deck. You can find these on the owner's website and or their Etsy, the Wild Unknown Tarot, or the Wild Unknown, oh my god, Flowers from the Dead Oracle. There we go. Brain work, right? Um, and they do this in kind of spurts. Um, but they're amazing, and it literally just comes with the deck. That's all. Nothing else. And I've had these for going on 3 to 4 years now, and they're still like I have used them a lot, as you can tell, but they're still going strong. And if you're more interested to hear about this deck or to learn a little bit more about it, you can actually check out my podcast because I interviewed them. They also have a tattoo parlor up in Washington. If you could read yourself, I think your mind would become jumbled. That's exactly what happens. Like, I'll read it, and then I'll question what I just read when it comes to reading myself, and then I'm just like, nope, yep, I'm done. Believe it or not, though, my partner can also read. That fucked with me because I've always seen from other readers that normally once, like, a deck is, like, once you build a bond with that deck, if other people try to use it, it doesn't really work out right. we have at least 3 decks that we've openly shared before. Obviously, this is not one of them. It's the other ones, the Halloween one and the native, or the medicine wheel one. Um, but I was presently shocked of how good he could read. Like, I was like, holy shit. Um, and hopefully in the next few months, I may get to give an update on my witch's basic. I mean, my partner is a witch without realizing he's a witch, but he's slowly coming to terms with it. Slowly. But he's been working so much, so he hasn't really had the time to do anything really. Um, but I want to. I want him to get into it. Only so I can actually just watch him blossom. Because I think he would be focused more on either Norse and or Egyptian magic, which I don't see a lot of practitioners online talk about. I understand why, because the 2 that I have seen talk about it, they got dragged because people were saying Egyptian magic is closed. And I'm like, no, the fuck it's not. But okay. Good at reading up to find the right deck. I will say, and the advice that I can give with decks and stuff like that, the number one thing, depending on if it's Oracle or Tarot, is finding confidence and building confidence in your ability to read. As long as you have confidence, that's all that matters. But don't rush either. And then basically repetitiveness. Get people around you to be able to read. Just be like, yo, I want to practice. So this is, either going to go somewhere, it's going to go nowhere. And then the way that I like to tell people how Oracle and Tarot works, for one, the future is objective. So you even making the decision to come here and get a reading could change this entire reading. The second one is, it doesn't really predict the future as much as it gives you little breadcrumbs and or insights on what could be coming up and or what certain situations or how certain situations may play out. But that doesn't mean it inherently is just going to like fully come true. And if you have anxiety, I suggest you making sure that a reading, because see, that's the only thing, the reason that I word certain things certain ways, because I have anxiety. I have multiple different types of anxiety disorders. So I've been to some readers where the entire fucking reading was just pure negative. Not even the situation, it was just negative sounding. There are some readers who will hyperfixate on like, oh God, you got the Tower card. Okay, maybe my life needs to be shook up a little bit. Again, it's all about the perspective. But with tarot and oracle readings, especially because I'm learning through just watching other people and talking to other people, that people with like depression, bipolar, things like that, mental shenanigans, we also have slight highlights, if you will. Magic clicks with us, right? So with that, what can wind up happening, especially with anxiety, because of the pure energetic force behind anxiety and ADHD, you don't want it coming to a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's basically where somebody tells you a reading and you like that reading so much that you almost force it to become true. And therefore, you fulfill that prophecy. And or you hyperfixate on it so much that in the process of that, you basically walk the same steps to actually make that fully come to life. And let me tell you from experience, that is not always a good thing. In any way, shape, or form, that was a good thing. And the reason I say that is because then I came to this realization earlier. The last relationship I got out of, it was one of my big oh shit moments because I had to figure shit out. I already had a job. I had to find another place to live. It was a lot of life lessons, and I was like, fuck this. I'm done with love. I'm never going to do this again. Basically, I thought I was cursed. It sucked because I saw my own goddamn breakup happen a week and a half before it actually happened. And told my ex, look, I had this dream. Oh no, calm down, it's not going to mean anything. I needed that breakup though, because if I wouldn't have had that breakup, I would not have met the love of my life that I'm with right now. Are we perfect? Fuck no. Do we argue? Do we bicker? Yeah, we've been together almost 10 years. We're going to. But you know what? If you're in a relationship and you get to the point where the following day or the day after, y'all talk about what just happened that spun the argument, and both of y'all are joking about it, that's a very good sign. Because what I mean by that is you're also not holding in animosity. And what I've realized to make a great relationship work is trust and communication. As long as you can go to your significant other and tell them any fucking thing, even if you fucked up, Like, this is gonna make me vulnerable, but that's okay. It's part of it. Um, I've been with people before that they believed that if everything was going perfect in a relationship and they fucked up, that if they told it, everything would just go to shit. Where somebody came up with that logic, I never understand because it sounds like you're fucking insane. Um, but yeah, they would like if they fucked up a little bit, they would not come to me and tell me. And I'm like, I tell anybody that I've ever dated, look, I am a human lie detector. If you lie to me, I will find out. It may take a year, but I'm going to find out. Um, and yeah, they did not believe me. They found out. So with this relationship, I was like, look, just tell me the truth. Don't lie to me. You know, we had our ups and downs, and then I had moments where I scared the shit out of him of how accurate and things that I picked up on that I shouldn't have picked up on. But you know, hey, we're still here. And like I said, we're doing good. We're still going through changes because like he's been working way more than he's ever worked before, and I'm not used to that. So like, not to mention I was doing shadow work in the middle of that, so that didn't help anything. Um, but yeah, like communication and trust is key. Um, Not to mention with communication, you don't get signals crossed, so therefore assumptions are not made, and yeah. Um, and that whole like little fantasy thing that you see online about like people just being perfect together. Yes, but you're gonna have dark days. You're gonna have stormy days. Not everybody is always fucking perfect. And that's okay because it shows that y'all are separate people that are coming together. Um, but yeah. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, I will put these up, but I'm still gonna go live. Hang around and chat a little bit. Not to mention it's also giving me time to figure out what I'm gonna do for dinner. And then one of these nights soon, I'm going to have a Tipsy Divination one. So that won't only be these decks, that will probably be, if I can set it up, that's going to be this deck, the Halloween deck, and the Pendulum. Or the Pendulum jar that I use, because I've never actually used it to read people. Um, and that will be free. So, like, I'm not going to charge anybody for a live reading until I get it down pat. Plus, this is a way for me to get back to the community with necessarily not having to charge people. Um, But yeah, when it comes to card reading, just research as much as possible and don't get too serious about it to where like you start getting frustrated because that's just gonna make everything worse. Have fun with it until you get to a point where you want to like progress it. Just don't get frustrated with yourself. Even with magic, if you go to make a sacred tool for your practice and you start to get frustrated with it, you need to stop, put it down, and walk away until you're in a better mood and come back. It's just like with cooking. Um, you know, if you grew up in a southern state and in other states, I grew up southern, so I always say everything else is just like southern. Um, you never cook when you're pissed off. You don't go to sleep angry at somebody. Um, which that's a 50-50 because I've done that just to sleep on something, but you never cook while you're angry because you will cook those emotions into that food. Now, with that being said, if you're the black sheep of the family and you have to go to a family reunion, there's an entire thing that I just said that you can do your entire family with shadow work. Just make sure it's something that like kids wouldn't eat, that way they're not affected, but like think about all that trauma and shit you had to go through. Cook that shit into the food and then feed it to them. Please don't, and if you do, I am not to blame for it because I am not responsible for the amount of chaos that that could inspire. And I do mean chaos. Um, but yeah, things like that. When you're cooking, if you do want to work with your spirit guides or primarily your ancestors, that is the perfect time to start that communication. Now, depending on what environment you're in, because I do know there are some people that can't openly just talk to spirits, like I'm talking to y'all right now. If you can, verbally speak it. If not, you can totally have conversations with spirits up in your head. They may not answer you back in your head, but they're going to be able to understand what you're trying to say. Think of it as sending an energetic message out. Um, but with the cooking, try to find meals that they would like. You don't necessarily have to offer it to them, but just inviting them in as you're cooking and like kind of going down memory lane and talking to them, it really does bring you closer. If you have a specific heritage, cook some of that heritage food. Not only are you connecting with the ancestors of your most recent life, but you can connect to the older ones as well. Because, hold on, I gotta fix our AC unit. It's starting to freeze up. Uh-huh. Talk to you, little shit. Okay, I'm back. Um, but yeah, like, don't let people online make it to where like ancestor work has to be hard. It's going to be deep, yes, but also know that when we mean ancestor work, we do not mean like just jumping right into like your first ancestor. We do not mean that. We mean slowly work down the line. Um, and yes, if you can get pictures of them, that's totally okay. If you cannot get pictures of them, or if you're adopted or something like that, once you start making contact with them, ask them to let you know what foods or flowers or things that they liked. That way you can create an altar or a sacred space. Now, if you're in the closet, it's just a wall of it's a some type of art piece of things that random things that you find along your day, right? So many things you can use this as an excuse for, but in a spiritual meaning, it has this. I'm new to witchcraft and I'm learning about spirit guides and deities. My dreams are very detailed and imaginative, like whole worlds of dreams, and my dreams has always been that way since I was young. Oh, I love that. You'll definitely be very gifted in dream work. And some cultures and practices believe that dreaming is just another way to go to a different place. Uh, Now, with that, though, I kind of also want to bring up astral projection, and then a couple other things that specifically, since you're new. By the way, in this community, we do not use the term baby witch. I know you didn't. I'm saying in general to anybody else. We use seedlings or sprouts because we all grow at some point. And we all start off at the same. We start off in mud and eventually grow up. But astral projection, it is not it is a practice, which means yes, you may be able to trigger it once or twice, especially if you're naturally at it, but it can be extremely dangerous. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. It can. You are projecting your soul out of your body. So you can get hitchhikers, multiple other things. Now, with that, there are physical feelings that come with astral projection. So just drinking a cup of mugwort and going to sleep, you're not necessarily going to astral project. It should and technically will take practice and time, but make sure you're doing it safely. With that deity work, there are some more popular books that have changed a term to basically what is known as it's the Wiccan term, but it is drawing in the moon or drawing down the moon. There are two different types of rituals with this. There are couple rituals, and then there are normal rituals to where you're symbolically holding an athame and putting it inside of a chalice. Um, but basically, what you're doing with that, and in the actual when you're doing it, you are invoking that goddess or even God. In other words, you are taking them in you physically, basically like letting them possess you. Can this be done? Yes, it can. Do you need to be advanced before you do this? Yes, you do. It will fuck your world up on a physical level if you do not do it properly, and or if your body does not have enough energy, you can get hurt depending on your surroundings. Take that from a witch who did it without realizing I was doing it, and I got jammed or slammed on the fucking ground because I completely passed the fuck out. I think I've done that before. Yep, I did it. I didn't mean to. I was doing a ritual, and it was one of the coolest rituals that I'd done at that point because it was one of my first big like rituals that I myself created because I was primarily solitude, um, or a solitary witch. And I went up to release the herbs. Also, finally figured out what that was. I think it's called sweet gum or sour gum. Anyways, it's a type of like weird flowering thing. Um, I'm doing that. But it's this weird flower. If I find it, I'll show it to you. I use it for wishing, and or there's another plant that I use. But anyways, I went to give my offering, and back then I was still practicing under Wicca. In Wicca, at the end of a ritual, when you open the circle or when you cut the circle, which is basically making a magical explosion out into the cosmos, um, the excess energy that you build up in that you're supposed to let it go in either the god or the goddess format. The god format being this, the goddess format being this. I did the goddess format because I'm always drawn to the goddess. And in that moment where I released that energy into her, I started seeing little black dots like slowly form over my eyes. And about the time it like got right here, I saw black, but it was like I was catapulted into the fucking sky where like I went out of our ozone layer, like I went off Earth and I was just flying through the fucking stars, and it just all went black after that. And then I came to on the ground. I was standing up on a step stool, so I was about at least 4 feet off the ground on top of my own height, and I fell this way. Somehow I fell this way. I was standing up this way, but I fell like that way. To the point where like my legs were this way and my head was pointing that way. I landed on the ground so fucking hard, the stick that I landed on left an indentation in my back. When I actually came to, I was dazed and confused and had no fucking idea what just happened. And it wasn't until like I had to live with that experience of not knowing what the fuck I just did. Like, was I punished? What happened? And it wasn't until I was in like I think I was 23, 24 that I talked to another experienced practitioner, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you tried drawing her in, like fully taking her in." So it can be a very, very, very powerful experience, but I would wait until you have dealt with energy work and spirits and that to make sure your physical body can handle it. Um, and like I said, it did not be taken lightly. And I didn't even know what I was doing. That was not the intention of the spell. That was just me releasing energy into her. And apparently she was like, "Well, here, come up here." Um, it was very cool because it was one of those experiences though that like set it right then and there. I was like, there's nobody can ever tell me this shit's fake anymore. When you have an experience like that, or just an experience of where like it's it's so solid of an experience that like you can't even question like, did that just happen? You know it happened, you just don't know how. Um, and that's one of the reasons that I've really never walked away. Now I have walked away. I've taken breaks with my practice, which is perfectly healthy and fine, but I've never actually like fully packed shit away. I've gotten frustrated to where I packed all my altars and shit like that away, and my partner's fucking he'd be laying on the bed snickering. I'm like, "What are you snickering about?" He's like, "I don't know why you're doing this. Fucking by tomorrow you're gonna have everything back up there." He was right. um but yeah, and we're not always going to have experiences like that. But you will periodically in your journey, depending on the magic you're doing, you will have that. With me, and one of the reasons I kind of stepped back from more ritualistic magic, that will be changing this year, is because of my agoraphobia. And the property that I live on, it's very open, as in 360 all the way around. So I don't really have any privacy, and I haven't got the gumption up to actually go out there and do a full circle. But when we get the property trimmed down, that's when I'm actually going to remake my sacred space, and that's what I'm actually going to be doing full on invoking the elements and all of it. Um, I had the same thing happen, but I was 7 and hit my head on a rock falling out of a tree. Woke up like 2 minutes later. Oh, that is so cool. I'm glad other people are having experiences. I'm also glad you're okay. Um, but and the reason I bring that up is because the one of the most popular books that are going around right now, Of Blood and Bone, in the very first fucking chapter, at the end of it, they mention that. But they sugarcoat it as in becoming the god or goddess. But if you read between the lines, that's exactly what you're doing. You are basically letting the god jump in you, and you're letting a celestial being jump in you. Sure, I'm okay. I also feel that. Like, yeah, no, we're not. I'm not sure if I'm okay or not. I'm here, but I'm not sure if I'm okay. Um, but yeah, now I would not suggest doing that with any type of spirit and or ancestor in any way, shape, or form, because that would be possession. Now, interesting fact, because I'm pretty sure we're getting into the more spookier season, and the way TikTok has just been, we're gonna see more videos. Fun fact: what people don't know is hot spirits. I'm gonna say hot spirits instead of using the term demonic. No, actually, I'll say Catholic demonic spirits, Catholic demons, depicted in the Bible. Um, of the stories of them possessing people, right? Well, what people don't know is it's not like you just wake up one day and boom, you're possessed. Um, Wait, how do I do what? Take in the goddess? Um, but what winds up happening is it's oppression. So they have to oppress you before they can actually possess you. Basically, how they do that, depending on the spirit, they'll isolate you. They'll cause issues between every single person in your life to get you basically completely isolated. And then over time, it's basically trying to get you as weak as it possibly can. And then it waits for the prime time to slip in. Now, with that being said, is demonic possession real? Yes. Is it as relevant as most people think it is? No. And the reason I say that is because that's coming from a Catholic and or Christian concept of evil spirits roaming the lands trying to possess you. And in fact, another crazy thing that I learned when I was still in the church that I asked, and you're not supposed to ask, why is it that all the famous cases of people being possessed, they're some of the most devout, like great holy people? And of course, they're like, well, that's what the devil does. He likes to wage war. And I'm like, so you're telling me these two celestial beings are just have been going at it for hundreds of thousands of years, right? For what? Anyways, um, it was a traumatic time for me. I lost a parent, gained scary gifts. I panicked when I felt no consciousness too. Oh shit. My condolences, and I'm sorry. Drawing down the moon and everything, you can easily find a ritual online to do it. But again, I wouldn't actually do it. Now, what I mean by that is you can do one to where it's kind of a mockery, as in the intention of it is not to fully take in the goddess as much as to kind of get closer to the goddess. And most of the ones you may be able to find some that are not Wiccan based now, but most of the ones you will find out there will probably be Wiccan. Well, you could do it by multiple ways. In the description of that book, you're basically researching, you're taking in their associations, like their colors, their scents, their herbs, and you kind of wear that, and over time, you kind of start to pick up on their energy. In the Wiccan way, though, it's an actual ritual where you have to open the circle, you have this incantation that you have to say, and then under the full moon, you basically are getting your dagger or athame and dipping it in a bowl and or chalice because female, and then you have the phallus of the sword or athame. It's basically sex without being sex. That's technically what the original invoking the goddess was, except for, well, there were covens way back then. I don't know if they do it now, where they would actually have sex, or at least two people would have sex willingly. I'm hoping would have sex. That's what that represents. But there are other ways that you can invoke a god or goddess, but I'm not explaining how to actually do that. That would be your own homework of research. Not to mention, like I said, this can be extremely dangerous if you are not in the like they said, they fell out of a tree and hit their heads. I also fell. And if it wasn't for my stepbrother who was outside the circle watching me, I don't even know how long I would have been out there unconscious. Um, so if you ever do something like that, you need to have somebody else there to make sure you're not going to get hurt. Especially if you're doing it inside in front of an altar. The last thing you want to do is pass out in your altar where all the flames and candles are at. So, yeah. But it is possible, like I said, but it's not something I would suggest a beginner doing. Now, you can just call upon a goddess or a god, especially if you would like to work with them. But I can say, and this is not directed at you, this is directed at anybody else who's been getting curious to get into witchcraft. If at any point in time you try to do something to disprove or to see if this is real or not with that specific gift or that specific intention, a lot of the times, of course, a lot of the times it's not going to work because these are divine beings. Like, they're not just going to show up just to prove that they're real or not. Um, And not to mention some of these, especially when you go into the Fernals and other ones, you got to show respect. Like these are ancient beings, um, and there are certain do's and don'ts depending on what energies you're working with. Um, and some people, depending on like with the Fernals and some of the older spirits, not the pantheons, but the actual spirits. Some people are argue with you where like if you don't do it this way, it's not going to work. Um, so it just depends on what you're getting into. But with that being said, I will be logging off now because it is 5:01, which means I have to feed the cats. I've got to wash dishes and figure out what I'm having for dinner. Which should have already been like an hour and a half ago to 2 hours ago, but um, but yes, thank y'all so much. Thank you for letting me read y'all for the people that asked a question. And yeah, I plan on doing this hopefully again tomorrow. I'm gonna try to do this periodically. It's not gonna be every day because then I'll tire myself out. And if at any point in time you do want to book a reading with me, you can email me with the email listed below in the description, firelotusthewitch@gmail.com, and say reading. I'll send you the menu with all the pricing and stuff like that and the readings that I do. I only offer oracle readings and not tarot readings, and or any type of custom spell. And or if you ever have a question, like an actual witchcraft question or spirituality question, shoot it to me. And or if you just got something to talk about, send it to me, and if I can answer it and or give you resources, I totally will. But yeah, until then, thank y'all so much. This was fun as fuck. Definitely gonna be doing it again. And until then, I'll see y'all later. Peace.